Hey YouTube, this is Jaden coming at you. Got some new videos here for you. I hope you all enjoyed the mass video post I did a couple days ago. I just had so many cool ideas because I'm really excited for the next stage of Vanguard. It's getting ready to go into the third series of just cards. We're going to get into break rides here in America finally. So I just wanted to, I had some more ideas for videos and I thought I'd get into it here with you. This video I'm going to be talking to you about, there are some cards out there that I just do not like, and it might be for I just don't like going up against them, I just don't like their artwork, so this is not the top 5, I'd say, excuse me, I'd say just 5 of the cards I don't like the most. Actually, it's 6 because I wanted to put one of these in here. And the first one that I want to talk about is anything with the word Dayusha in its name. I hate Dayusha. Just look how cocky he looks. You freaking Power Ranger ripoff. Okay, guys, I'm totally kidding around. I actually like Dayusha. This is just to fuck with a teammate of mine, because I find it funny. So now I'm probably going to get smacked in the back of the head for saying that this weekend, but I don't care. It's funny to me. Okay, now I'm going to get into the actual 6 cards that I have picked out here. So the first one I want to talk about is Flame of Promise Ermo, and I tried to find the Shadow Paladin clone one too, Bat of Apocalypse for Overlord, but I couldn't find it. And I mean, I probably have one, but I'm not going through 8 boxes to find one. So, pretty much what this does is if it's boosting an Overlord, you Soul Blast one, and it's a 10k boost, but it can be a rear guard. So it's a potential 10k boost for your rear guard. And the way the other one works for Shadow Paladin is if you have an Overlord Vanguard, you Soul Blast one to basically give the dragon your boosting 10k. So the only person I've ever seen use this was my friend Ty. He was playing the end, and he was using this to boost the end. I just don't think this card is good. Apocalypse. I mean, yeah, it can work, but if you don't use it, it's a 4k boost. You can get more of a boost by just dropping a trigger out of your hand and boosting with it. So, and other than that, this is only a 5k shield, so you can't guard with it, and it's not going to do much for you. I mean, you can guard with it, but it's not going to do much, but I just don't see the point of these cards. I think that's the reason there's only 2. Because the other ones, like the one Charge Golf for Garmor, he's at 6k and you Soul Blast to give the unit an additional 5. Those are better in my opinion. I think the only reason that only 2 of these that I know of exist is because they're terrible. So, I mean, there might be more of these, and I'm just not aware of it because I don't look into these kind of cards. I don't like them. I do like 10k boosters, and then I do like cards like Charge Goal in certain situations, but this is overkill. I do not like these cards at all, so that's one of them. Another card that number 2, I have 6 here. This is number 2, is Steel Vampire. Now, Steel Vampire, if you look at just the artwork, I think is one of the best artworks in the game, because you get to see what he looks like here, and then you see his close-up, and I think it's unique. There's no other artwork in Vanguard that is similar to it, and that's one of the main things I love about Vanguard is the artwork. The artwork on these cards are amazing, but the reason I hate this card is for his effect. Let me read it to you real quick, just to clarify. At the beginning of your main phase, Soul Charge 1, this unit receives 2k power, so no big deal here. Vanguard Rear Guard, Soul Blast 8, Counter Blast 5. Choose one of your opponent's rear guards, put that unit onto your opponent's Vanguard, and at the beginning of the end phase of that turn, your opponent chooses a card from his or her soul and rides it. So, the fact that this is just splashable in almost any deck that Soul Charges a lot really ticks me off. But again, I've only gotten his effect put on me once, and ever since that day, I have hated this card. And what made me mad was the very first time I saw this card was on the show when Tetsu did it to Aichi and Future Knight Lu. And I was like, I'm never going to let that happen to me. And then, like, a month later, I let it happen to me. And it was because, a guy did it to me who's pretty much my big brother. His name's DeMarcus, and he did it to me, and I've never forgiven him for that. And if he happens to watch this. Number 3, Witch Doctor of the Abyss Negromari? It's a Grand Blue Grade 3. When it's placed on the Vanguard or the Rear Guard, you counterblast 2, you choose a Grand Blue unit from your drop zone, and you call it to a Rear Guard. I think it can be any Grand Blue unit. Yeah, doesn't specify grade, so just counterblast 2 and revive anything from the drop zone. The reason I don't like this card, it has 8k power. Now, I realize that this card is just technically a reborn for a monster, but you know, I just don't. They're better. There's a lot more ways that Grand Blue can revive monsters. I mean, Grand Blue players, they're some of the most committed players I know. If you play the Grand Blue deck, there's a guy at my locals who plays Grand Blue, and you know, he's never given up on it, and I applaud him because Grand Blue hasn't had any support in ever. You know, they're like Spike Brothers. You know, they just haven't gotten any support until. And Grand Blue is going to have to wait even longer, you know, so cards like this, I think, is just a waste of space that they could have given Grand Blue something else to possibly just let them hang in there until they finally did give them some more stuff. I do know they've already released the break ride for Grand Blue, which is nice, but this card to me is just pointless because there's so much better ways that Grand Blue can revive creatures. Let's see, I've done 1, 2, 3. This is 4. Silent Tom. Now, I know what you're saying. You're saying, Jaden, you already have that in a game sleeve, double sleeved, ready to go, which means you play this card in a deck. So how can you hate this card? You can't hate it but play it, or hate it but, you know, play it all the time. First off, guys, I don't really use my Oracle Think Tank decks that much anymore, to be honest with you. I mean, if I were to narrow down my 5 main clans, it'd be Royal Paladin, Gold Paladin, Kagero, Narukami, and Aquaforce. Those are probably the 5 clans I play the most. So I don't play Silent Tom all that much, so I think I've grown more into hate this card because I hate playing against it. Because when he's just 16k with a Gemini behind him, it's fine, no big deal. But when you put a critical on top of him and you pretty much just have to take it or waste 3 or 4 grade 1s and 2s from your hand to guard against it or waste a perfect guard, I just hate it. That's why on my next turn I do everything I can to make sure this thing dies. So, Silent Tom. Number 5. Let's just remember that this was a thing, okay? This card right here is a thing. It was actually created. Someone at Bushiroad actually got the brains to say, hey, we're going to put restraint on a card that 9 times out of 10 is your Vanguard. And its ability can only be used on the Vanguard circle. Now, if its ability can be used from the rear guard, then maybe this card could see a little play. But I have never seen this card played on me except at the sneak peek, and the person didn't have a choice. This card is terrible. Guys, let me read this card to you. Vanguard, Rearguard, Restraint. This unit can't attack. Activate ability, Vanguard, Rearguard, Soul Blast 3 cards. This unit loses Restraint. Vanguard, during your turn, all of your Pale Moon Rearguards in the front and back in the front row gain 3k. And auto, when this unit is placed on Vanguard, choose a Pale Moon Chimera from your soul and call it to Rearguard. Guys, you need to be able to attack with your Vanguard every turn. It is important to your strategy and keeping cards in your hand to guard with or replace rear guards that your opponent picks off during their turn. You have to Soul Blast 3 cards just to be able to attack with her. Now, if this was a Dark Irregular deck card, then that probably wouldn't be a problem. But Pale Moon, they do not soul charge nearly as much as Dark Irregular decks. Pale Moon decks, the only reason they soul charge is they get the units in there that they're going to need for their finish, and then they come out. They don't gain an ability that gains them extra power just for having a big soul. Now there's cards like Crimson Beast Tamer or Barking Manicore that gains power if you have 1 card in the soul, but there's no card like a Mon for Pale Moon, where they gain 1,000 power for every Pale Moon in the soul. So Soul Blasting 3 cards, that will eat away a Pale Moon's player's soul really fast. And eventually, they're not going to be able to do anything with it. So I just don't see why this card exists. You know, I don't... It came out in one of the extra boosters, you know, and it's like, why? Whoop-de-doo, my 2 rear guards gain 3k. What does that do for me if I can't even twin drive? And this is probably one of my least favorite. If I was going to do a top 5, this definitely would be on it. And that is Destruction Dragon Dark Rex. Now, this is a good card for Tachikaze. Because, as it sits right now with the Raptor deck, I don't think Tachikaze is a top 5 clan. I don't think it's a top 7 or 8 clan even. I think it would be closer to a 10. And that's being, you know, just because it doesn't have access to a cross-ride. Guys, having access to a cross-ride is crucial in this game because it is so much easier to guard your attacks that are coming at you. And it's harder for your opponent to stop you. This card, it's pretty much... When it's binded on Limit Break and your opponent is attacking you, most of the time they're going to be using the Raptor series and they're going to have Colonel with his Limit Break, and you're going to be at, say, 4 damage, and they're going to be attacking you with 35,000 power after they sack their 2 rear guards and raise Colonel up and boost an attack. Well, you got 2 options here. You got that Null Guard in your hand. Well, you can Null Guard their attack, but then he comes out and they're going to get another Twin Drive out of it. Or you can take a gamble and just say, okay, as long as they don't pull a critical, I'm fine. You know, this card right here, it really makes you figure out what you're going to have to do. If you're going to Null Guard this attack, the only time I Null Guard this is when I'm at 5 damage and I don't have a choice, and then I just have to hope and pray that I can stop each of his attacks with as little a shield as possible. But this card is the ultimate pressure card for Tachikaze, because once they bind it, they only get that plus 3,000 for that turn. But then this card just sits there, and you got to remember, if their Vanguard doesn't hit and they're at Limit Break, they get another Twin Drive off me, and that can sometimes win you the game. So this card is definitely just a problem card for them, for Tachikaze. It's one of the reasons Tachikaze does sneak by players sometimes, you know, and can destroy them. This is one of the best cards Tachikaze has access to. I don't care what kind of Tachikaze deck you play, whether you play a Raptor deck, you use one of the older builds, you use, you know, the Brachio build with Tyrannos, or I don't care. This card is needed in any Tachikaze deck because it is the only card of its kind. It is the ultimate pressure card. So... And it's dirt cheap, too. You know, it's one of the most pressure cards in the game, but it's dirt cheap. So, anyway. Alright, guys. Well, this has just been, you know, 6 cards, you know, that I just really don't like in Vanguard. So, I just thought I would talk about them for a little bit, you know, just have a little different conversation here. So, anyway, guys, in the comment section below, tell me one of your least favorite cards. Tell me why you don't like this card. Do you hate the artwork? Do you hate the clan? Do you hate playing against it? Do you hate the effect? What? Just in the comment section below, give me one of your least favorite cards and tell me why. Comment, rate, subscribe, thumbs up the video, and I'll see you guys later.